No, so no. No.
Good morning.
Morning.
There's Tom now.
Hey, everybody. My name is Kim, and I'll be kind of going over the DocuSign details today. Amani is actually getting ready to help me share my screen. Oh, here, I can see it now. It just popped up. So while I wait a few minutes, like about 2 minutes for everybody to kind of jump on, I wanted to get a feel for where everyone is as far as DocuSign goes. Have you used it? Are you brand new? Do you need help connecting it through command and that type of thing, or do you want to jump straight to DocuSign?
Straight to DocuSign.
Okay. Any other votes?
At least a few of us are brand new.
Okay. Okay, so I will kind of quickly go over how to get yourself from command to DocuSign. And I just wanted to mention that if you have questions kind of while I'm going through it or whatever, just feel free to raise your hand or speak or whatever. Very casual, comfortable. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Oh, my puppies. Okay, let's see. Okay, so we'll start with command and just, oh, I thought I turned off my notifications. Hang on just a second. Get all my goodies out of the way. Okay, so I'm actually, I work with Libby Bramlett, and so she has, I'm going to be using her account. Okay, so to make sure that you have linked command with DocuSign in order to get the most benefit and ease for your experience, you'll want to go up to your little picture and do the drop-down menu. You'll click on the settings button, and this is where you will immediately see. If it doesn't pop up at the top as connected, then that's kind of letting you know that you need to go in and connect. And you would basically click here. It would take you to the DocuSign, and that's where you would select or input the Keller Williams email address to make sure that you are connected. Any questions about that part? Okay, so generally you'll have your contacts in here that you've already entered your contact in. I'm going to use a listing example as our example for today, just to kind of go over the seller's property disclosure, because that's a big one where DocuSign can help you. So you'll want to look up your contact information. So you'll select your contact. And then after you've done that, hopefully you have all your information entered in what they're listing. You'll click on opportunity, and then you'll want to create an opportunity. We've already created one. And so here is where your opportunity is in your pipeline under your listing, which is an active listing. And I would suggest making sure that your details in here are correct, because this will also populate into DocuSign. And you can even go in here and add in your property information, which will connect with the Market Center, which will make getting your offers and commissions a much easier experience. So you'll want to make sure your information, and I kind of move from left to right in Command as well as in DocuSign, just to kind of make sure that I've selected and checked all my information. So once you're in your opportunity, you're going to click on your documents, and here's where you'll do your drop down to go ahead and decide what you're working with so that it will give you what you need to be getting signed. So we've got a residential, this is a listing, and then you're going to want to select start a transaction, and you're going to want to select the DocuSign transaction. So this is going to connect Command into DocuSign into a room. So DocuSign works with rooms, and instead of loops, if you've used .loop. So the rooms are, think of them as kind of like the location where you're going to hold all of your information, and it automatically brings you to the document section. But I want you to go back over to the details and just make sure before you get started with all the entering of information that you have everything entered correctly. So here it's going to tell you the name of your listing, and then we usually just put our seller here and then put it as a listing so that you're able to find this information quickly when you're sending contracts or documents or things like that. Every room has a specific ID, which will be really helpful later on. If you look here, you can copy and paste this room ID into an email so that you can immediately send all the documents that have been signed within this, that have been signed. Say, for example, you get an offer, you can actually just copy and paste this ID number into an email, and it will immediately send it into your room. So you don't have to download and re-upload into your DocuSign. And then it also tells you when it was created. So this is where if there is information in here that needs to be corrected, you can click over here on the edit button, and it will allow you to come in and edit the name of your seller. So we have Libby Lister, a phone number, an email address. You could put the address in here if you'd like to. It's not necessarily something you have to put in. And then you can scroll down and make sure that you have your email information. So if you're the listing agent, you'll have your name, your phone number, your email address. Go ahead and put this company information in because it will populate later on, which saves you a little bit of time as well. And it's just a double check so you can make sure that all that stuff is in correctly. And then click save, make sure you click save so all your information has been updated. And then after you've checked your details, I move to the right, which is the documents. So documents is basically just a landing page, or think of it as a desktop where you're going to want to put in here anything that you want to work with your seller with. So the first thing we usually put in here is your listing agreement, and then your Keller Williams affiliated marketing disclosure and your wire transfer. So I kind of want to tell you different ways that you can add documents here for signature. So you can download it directly from your computer. You can also go to DocuSign Forms where there are GAR forms, and there are also Kimberly Griffin has created templates that we can use. If you work with Dropbox or Google Drive, you can directly import from there as well. So what I thought we could do is I'll show you the DocuSign Forms first. Select the DocuSign Forms, and then you can do the GAR forms, or you can also come here and see what Kimberly has already created for us. So she has created the affiliated marketing disclosure, and she has created at the bottom the wire fraud. So you select those, and the blue form means that it's fillable. It's not a PDF. So when you see blue, and I've selected 2 forms, so you can select what you need and then click add. And it's automatically going to add it to your document page. Now, there's 2 different ways that you can do your listing agreement. You can add from DocuSign, the listing agreement. Let's see. So you can click this one. This one's completely blank. And so at the beginning of the year, what I did was I created a template so that the majority of the information on it is already filled. So this, I'm sorry, this is a commercial one too. So we didn't want the commercial one. But I'd like to add one from my computer that I've already pre-filled out and show you how it comes in. So this is a fillable form, and this is actually a PDF. And so if I want to see what's already filled out on the PDF, I can click on the PDF, and then I can scroll down. Sorry, dog. And you can see that I have put an X mark next to this section. I have filled in the Georgia FMLS. I filled in the commission structure and just some basic information, 90 days protected period. So that's already pre-filled. So at this point, is there any questions about how to upload documents into the room that you're working in? Anybody have questions about that? Okay. So the other section is envelopes. So you pretty much add everything into this section that you want to send to your client. So we want to send the seller's listing agreement, and we want to send the affiliated marketing, and we want to send the wire fraud. And then as you move across here, you can do different things. You can copy this. You can move it to a different room if you want to. You can email these documents. Let's say you want them to see these documents ahead of time. You can combine them into one PDF or zip file. Then you can create an envelope, which is what we're going to do. You can also download these documents. You can archive them, unarchive, or throw them away, trash them. So we're going to actually now create an envelope to our seller for the listing agreement. So this is going to create an envelope that we're going to send to them, and it's going to put all three of these documents into one envelope. Usually what we do is we come over here and I put just the name of the property, just kind of helps you with command. And then I say it's the listing agreement, so I know what I'm sending. So if you get a lot of emails and disclosures. And then real quickly, I usually just copy this and I come down here because this is the email that gets sent to your client, and I tell them what they're getting. And then we can come back later. So at this point, you can look at what you're getting ready to send, and this is where you can move tiles, because usually we like for the seller to see the listing agreement first and then the disclosures. This is also the same place that if you have forgotten to add something, for example, I'm not sure, maybe you want to add a utility information sheet. You can add that from your desktop. You can upload it directly if you have it on your desktop. If you have created a template or you want to use the template that Kimberly has created, you can add that here. Or if you forgot to add something that's already in your room documents, you can click this button and it will access all your documents. Yes. Question? No. Okay. So this is the order that we like to see. And then now you have to decide who you're going to send it to. Over here, you're going to have a drop down, and this is where you have your choices. We have two different kinds of documents. We have a PDF, and then we also have a live fillable form. This is a fillable form. These two here are also templates that we downloaded that Kimberly created. So in your templates, a nice trick is the pre-tagged roles. She's already created the spots that they need to sign them, and she's already kind of put them in the location that they need to be in. So whenever you use a template, you need to make sure that you select pre-tagged roles. Otherwise, you'll have to enter in all of the information at the next step. So here we've got the affiliated marketing, and we've got the wire fraud. So we've got a buyer 1 or buyer 2, authorized signer 1, signer 2. So this is the authorized. It's, even though it's a listing, I have to ask Kimberly why. I think she had to select one. So we have one buyer or one seller. Then you choose who you want that to be. And let me see, I think I picked myself. Libby Lister, Libby Lister. And then you can add this selected. This is your seller that you're adding to as an authorized user. You can also come back here and select room participants. This is where you'll want to come in and select yourself as a signer on the document. Here's who needs to sign it. Here's the order in which the signatures are going to be. So if you want someone to, if you want to be the person to sign it first, you can make yourself number 1 and then add everybody in as 2 and 3, or you can just select, make everyone number 1, and then everyone gets the documents all at the same time. Here is where people are needing to sign, needs to view, and then this is also where you could add another email address if you wanted your transaction to close recipient or transaction to close coordinator to receive a finished copy. You can add them in here too if you just want them to get a finished copy. Is another place, another person you could add to this as well. So this is the only point in DocuSign where you can delete if you wanted to. Say you're in the middle of adding this in and they call you and say they don't, you know, they're not going to move forward with listing. You could delete the entire envelope. If you need to go do something and you don't have time to finish this, this is where you're going to want to save and close it, because otherwise any information you've created in here will be lost. So you want to make sure you do a save and close if you're not ready to move forward. Or if you needed to go back to the document section because you forgot to add something, you could do, this is where you could go back to that. So once you've decided your envelope name, you make sure your email address has the proper information, you can come in here and add any additional instructions that you want to add for your seller to do. You're going to click the next button. This is where we're going to the next section. So this is where you're going to preview all of the documents that you've selected, and you're going to make some adjustments. So the drop down over here shows you who is working within this envelope. So you're the agent. You want to make sure you select yourself as the agent if you're going to add information into here. So right now, we don't have an address. We don't have this information because we used a pre-filled listing agreement. So in order to add this field in, you're just going to select the text box. I like to make it a little bit smaller. And then you kind of drag it out so that it doesn't wrap around. So here you can type in your information over here. You can type it in here. Before I start typing, what I like to do is do a Control D to duplicate so that I can just go ahead and put in the boxes that I know I'm going to need to fill to save me just a little bit of time. So just a Control copy. This is also where you're going to select whether this is a required field or a read-only field. Required field means that you can't send this document without this something being filled in here. So if you come back to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now you want to make sure that you can't change the address, you would select read only so that no one can change that address. Then this information you're going to need to fill in. You can fill in your deed book, and other information. Then you keep scrolling down. This is where you'll put in the sale price, the dates that you're going to list. This is all information that you as the agent want to fill out. You can double check here some of the information. If you get to this point and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I had agreed that I wasn't going to do 6%. You can come over here and do a quick edit. Just put a big X, create another little text box. And put in the amount. And as you scroll down, if there's any information that you want to make adjustments to, you can. So you've got your ABC agency information here that you're sending. If there's any special steps that you want to add in here, if you wanted to add another one in here, you could just add in another text box here and put that information in if you wanted to. And then here, because this is a PDF and not a template, this is where you're going to have to add in the signatures. So the seller is your Libby lister, so you're going to add, and they're different colors, so that kind of helps you decide who's who. And so we're going to go with our lister. We're going to add that here, and you can change the size of this because sometimes it comes across really big. You can select name. You can pick the date signed. I like to move it over to the side just a little bit because sometimes it rolls into the other. If you want it to be, if you want the email address to be there for you for further information, you can. And then here's where all of the pre-filled information exists, which makes it a little bit easier. So when you get to this point, I need to switch back to my agent. Over here, we've got the affiliated marketing. So here I'm going to switch back, put my name of my seller. And this is where I'm going to scroll down. And this is where Kimberly has created the template so that that information is already in here. But you still need to double check it because sometimes it gets moved. And then here I'm like, oh, we don't have the name. So we're going to add the name. All right. So any questions on how to add in fields or edit information in the document before you actually send it off to your client? Okay. So if everything looks good here, but you're not sure, you can also click Recipient Preview so that you can see what they're going to see. If you have more than one seller or more than one buyer, you're going to want to make sure that, let's see, I'm going to show you down here. If there's more information that needs to be shared, you just want to kind of, let's see, I'll come back to the top. I think because we only have one person, it's not going to show up on this one. But you want to share and collaborate with them so that everybody sees the information. So at this point, if you're ready to go ahead and send, you can click send. If you need to go back, you can go back over here. And when we click send, it's going to go ahead and send the email. And it's also going to pop up and tell you, you can go ahead and sign it. It's going to take you back to the room and it's going to say it needs your signature. So we just go ahead and click there and then click sign. It's going to pop into the active room. You're going to click continue, and then it's going to click start. And because this was a required field, it's going to make me fill it in. It won't let me go on until I fill it in. So it's just confirming the information it's filled in. Click the next one, then you click sign. Once you've gone through, because the agent doesn't need to sign any of this. So you'll notice here too that the buyer, seller, and the information here doesn't show up. Don't worry, because it's because you're not needing to sign it. It's not something that you're needing to take care of. So you don't see the signature request. You just click finish. And then it says waiting for others. And then you're like, who are we waiting for? So if you go here, it's going to show you who you're waiting for. And then this is their email address. And if you find there's an error here, it shows that you went ahead and signed it. If this is showing that we need a signature, and I noticed, oh wait, this is the wrong email address, I can go in here and I can correct. And I can add in the correct email address. And it says it's correcting. and then I can click send, and it's going to send the correct, it's going to take a minute. And then it says the envelope has been sent, still waiting on others. So then your buyer is going to come, or your lister, I'm sorry. And this is what's going to show up on their end. Review documents. Oops, I opened up the wrong one. Hold please. It's taking a little bit of time, so I'll go back to the envelope. The other thing that I've created just, and I don't want to add to anybody, if anybody's interested, I can kind of show you how I've created a room for other forms so that you can easily go in and pick up templates that you create yourself, because Kimberly is the only one that can create a template for the Keller Williams Atlanta North, but you can create your own templates just by creating a listing one, a buying template, and then you can add the forms that you want to add in there the way that you like them filled out. For example, here you can add in all of the documents that you like to send for the ABC agency. You can add in the utilities request if you want to. Then you can also have the fillable forms right here. Like, so here's the listing agreement that we just created a PDF for. But let's say that you want to make an adjustment for the remainder of your year and you want to start using land lots instead of using the deed book and page. So you can create, you can change it here and then save it and download the new PDF. So you can make any adjustments to this document and download a new PDF. And when it's blue, it means it's still editable. You can edit it. Any questions on that? Okay.
I have a
So
question.
now I want to show you for a listing agreement, one of the best things that has come about is the seller's property disclosure. So right now, if you go into DocuSign Forms, we're back in our room, 123 Main Street. We have our documents. We now want to send, and I would suggest sending your listing agreement and disclosure separate from your seller's property disclosure in CAD, because a lot of times they just click through and then they don't complete all the information on the seller's property disclosure. So go back in here and we're going to add the seller's property disclosure. It was here. So here's your exclusive seller listing agreement. Here is your for condo, disclosure for a lot land, new construction. Okay, here we go. So we're going to add blue form means it's fillable. So you're going to select what you want to send in the envelope because you've already sent this in a separate one. So now we're going to select the seller's property disclosure. We want to send it in an envelope. I like to copy. And then you can kind of give them instructions on how to complete that information. So we know what we're sending. Now we have to decide who we're sending it to. Because it's fillable, we're going to do pre-tagged roles. Oh, wait. Let's just do, because it's not a buyer, it's the lister. And then when you click next, it's going to take you to the document. Oh, wait a minute, it's not fillable. So if you want to remove the document here, you can hit remove, and then it takes it out. If you want to delete the envelope, you can delete, just because that one was not fillable. And then I think I was in the wrong room. So back to documents. Here's the ones that we already sent. Here's the ones that we're adding. Here you can look at and see, Kimberly last year had the seller's property disclosure. I think that she didn't have to create it this year because the GAR forms had completed it. Adding seller's property disclosure. And then we're going to send it off to the envelope. You can add the address and information here that you want. Then you can look in here to view, to see, make sure you have the correct document attached. And then you're going to add your recipients. One second. If you want to take off a person, like that is not, because the email didn't populate, because we didn't select. So I had seller 1 and see there was no email there. So you have to select seller 1, and then you need to come over and say who that seller 1 is. Add selected. Then you can check over here to make sure. Click next. And then your information is all in here. And when what you'll notice here is this information is fillable, and it doesn't say it's a required field, and it doesn't say read only. So that means that when you send this to your seller, that they may or may not go through and complete everything. So you want to make sure that they didn't miss something if they were supposed to complete it. The important part is when you use the lead-based disclosure, because they have to, you want to make those fields required. So they have to make a selection of some kind. And so this makes it so easy for them to complete. And then you just send all these little boxes they can check. They don't have to print it off and fill it in. And then it also makes it easy for them to sign it as well. So if you had a second seller over here and you wanted them to be able to help and collaborate, let's say they wanted to work on this together, this is where you want to make sure that you choose the recipients can collaborate. Let's say the wife fills out most of it, and then the husband maybe comes back in later and fills out another part of it. This will need to be selected so that both parties can collaborate. And then you just click send. Any questions?
Please show the collaborate one more time. Thank you.
Sure. So when you have a document that you want everybody to be able to collaborate on, you'll want to select or even a section. Let's say, for example, the husband goes through and selects no on a whole bunch of things, but there's one part that they don't know for sure what the answer is. You want to make sure that on the drop down, let's say there's some litigation, like I'm not sure if it's yes or no, I don't know the answer to this one. You'll want to, it'll look like this at first, and you'll want to hit collaboration, and you'll want to say recipients can collaborate. Now, if it's something that needs to have everybody's initials on it, then you'll select changes require initials. This would be like, say, for example, on a purchase and sale, if you make a change to it and you want them to initial it, this is where you would select changes require initials. If there's more than one section, let's say, for example, you're like, I don't have any of the answers on any of these, like I don't know what any of that is, then you would select all the areas that you want them to collaborate on and select collaborate. I don't know anything about litigation and insurance. I need your help with that one.
Thank you.
Sure.
For the part where the buyer has to sign, do you have to input where the buyer is allowed to sign in order for them to sign it, or can they just sign it after it's downloaded without you inputting where they have to sign?
Correct. So basically, this is when you send this to your lister, your seller who's getting ready to complete all this. This is the document that you're going to put into your showing time or add to your listing. And when you add it that way, it's actually going to be a PDF. And so what will happen afterwards, we can go back to like, let's see, once you've listed it and you've got your documents in here, you're going to have it under listed. You're going to have your signed, let's see, where is it? Your seller's property disclosure here. And then you'll select that, and then you'll come down and download it, and it's going to download it to your computer. And then what you'll do is you'll go back. Oh, sorry, that's in my. You'll go back to your room. And so this is the place that has the seller's property disclosure. You're going to go back over to documents, and you're just going to drag it. Oops, sorry. You're going to drag and drop the signed one. Although actually, you know what, to answer your question, the signed one by your seller is already going to be in here in a PDF, just like this one. It would show up red like this. And since you've labeled it correctly, you know that this is the seller's property disclosure statement. So if this is something you need to send to, you can email it to, let's say, the buyer's agent that's getting ready to put in an offer on your listing. You can email it directly to them, and then they can add that to their offer. If this is your buyer and you've uploaded the seller's property disclosure for a home that you're putting a purchase on, this is where you're going to select the PDF. You're going to add it in with the rest of your CAD or your purchase and sale, everything else that you've got in here. You're going to create that envelope. And this is where you would need to add your recipient, which would be your buyer. And then correct. And then we're going to send it to the next phase where now I've got to tell my buyer that they have to sign the seller's property disclosure. So here's another part. When you're actually putting this in as an offer, you are going to need to come in over here and add the text box to create whatever exhibit letter it is for you. You're also going to need to come in and add when is the date of the offer. Let's say you're putting in an offer today. So you're going to put in today's date. Then you're going to scroll down. This one's already pre-filled. You get to the very bottom of it. It's already been signed by the seller. And this is where you're going to have to put your buyer information in. Tell them that they need to sign this, the date it needs to be signed. And then you're going to send it to them for their signature. So this is the PDF that was already completed. And then, for example, let's say you put this information in, you want it to be, You don't want anybody changing it. This is Exhibit A. So then you're going to type in Exhibit A, and then you're going to say read only, so nobody can make it Exhibit B. Any questions about that?
That makes sense. Thank you.
Sure. Anybody have anything specific that they're working on, that they're trying to come up with some, you know, to streamline your process or anything like that I can help you with? Because this was pretty basic.
I got a quick question. So when you create the templates for yourself, do you just create a fictitious address to list them under? Is that what you're doing?
No, so here's what I did, because I command, you know, if you're working in command, you've got to have an address, or you have to have a client, or you have to have somebody. So what I did was, when you access DocuSign, you can go to your dashboard, and when you're in your dashboard, this is going to show you everything. It's not specifically linked to any particular command pipeline that you've got going on. And then this is where I was like, okay, what can I do this year to make it easier for me? And I just basically created a new room, and over here, create new room. And the room that I created, I decided to call it 2021. I figured, okay, what am I going to do for 2021? I want to have a listing template. I want to have a buyer's template. And then I just created just a general template. So I created the room. So you can create a room, just click new, and then you can call it whatever you want to call it. I even created an edit room, just because, like, you know, sometimes you'll get something that you have to bind, or you have to accept. That was another one that I kind of played around with, because that way it's just a little bit easier to navigate. So you just create a room, call it 2021. We created a buy one. And in here, I've got all the buy documents that, you know, let's say, gosh, I want to send I want to
right.
send.
Pause just 1 second. Pause just
Sure.
1 second, because you're going really fast.
Sorry.
Okay. So,
So go to your dashboard. You're in DocuSign.
Okay. Yeah.
Make
So,
sure you're in rooms, because you want
right.
to be
I'm in
rooms.
DocuSign. I'm in rooms, and I'm
Okay.
under active. So I put the 2021.
Okay. So active, you've created 2021. We created a new room. We're calling it 2021. And that's all you have to do. Oh, you could create it, you know, let's say 2021 buyer templates, we'll call it that. And then what side? Well, it's going to be the buy side, because it's a buyer template. Then you can just basically click save.
Okay, that's what I'm not seeing. Okay, so
On the
after
far right side, upper top.
when I put in 2021,
Okay.
I don't
Under
see
room
where.
name.
Yeah, I put under 2021. So how do I get that to that create new room? That's why I'm
Okay,
having a
let's go
hard
back.
time.
So click on, you're on the rooms tab.
I am.
Okay, so over here underneath your name, do you see the new button?
Hold on a second.
Scroll all the way to the right.
Okay, there we go.
There you go.
It was covered up by my
I know.
video. My video.
Yeah, it's
Okay.
probably, you want. Yeah.
Now,
So
okay. That's all I need.
create.
That's what I
Okay.
was trying to do. It was
Yeah.
it was covered up by my video, my picture.
Gotcha.
So okay, gotcha.
So
Okay.
2021, I just want to also show you that, let's say you get in here and you're like, okay, I've got all my templates. And the nice thing is come in here to your documents, and then start adding whatever you want to be in there, whatever you want to have in your buyer template room, whatever you would think you would send to your buyer. This is where you could add it to. So they need to have the loan, conventional loan. You want to give them the purchase and sale, you know, whatever stuff that you want to send to them. And then you can move it, you can email it, you can copy it. Let's see, if you want to move it, you can actually send it to a folder in an active room. Let's say you've got a new buyer. Who's my new buyer? Where you can have already created a room, you can actually send those documents straight to the new buyer. And it will move those documents. Oops, it did not move those documents. Oh, because they're PDFs. So let's see here. You could, let's see. Oh, we want to tell them about mold. And then you can select the active room and send it to them. Okay, it's not liking me today. So usually if it's something like that, it might be easier to download it. Sometimes it's quirky. Then I'll just download it and then re-upload it, because it just sends it down here, and then you can go to your client room and go to your documents and then just drag the mold pamphlet into there. The other thing that I have done too, depending on if you work on one computer all the time, or if you work remotely, this probably wouldn't work unless you have your own computer with you, but you can actually add from your computer, and then you can create all these things here, right? So here I have all the lead-based pamphlet. This is our seller's listing agreement. So I can select here and just do this. And then I open all of those and they all populate into this room. That's my preference, just because I have it all kind of organized that way. The nice thing too is you can also select these pamphlets and send it to them electronically in one document, and you know that you actually get a red receipt that they've received them, because you know it says on their purchase and sale that they've gotten those documents. And so it's another way to kind of track that information too.
If you're downloading to your computer and then you're uploading, is it going as a PDF and then you can or cannot edit it?
Correct. If you are using, if you download it, then it takes away the PDF, I'm sorry, the fillable format. The only way to get the fillable format is when you upload from, when you add the document from the blue add button, and you go to your DocuSign Forms. Now, you'll know that it's a fillable one if it's blue. So all these are fillable.
Okay, thank you.
And then you'll also know that as soon as it turns red like this, it's a PDF. So it's not fillable, but you can still edit it. You can still add to it if you wanted to.
Okay,
but in here, when
you.
when it's blue, what you could do is come in here before you send it to the envelope. When it's blue, what I like to do too is, you know, it's easier to tab through here. Like you can just hit your tab button and it takes you through all the things that you need to put in. It's so much faster if you do it that way. Then you can type in your information and you can hit save. It's still fillable, but when you send it to the envelope, it will have that address already in it. See, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So you can pre-fill. I wouldn't pre-fill the property disclosure for your clients, but you can at least put the address in if you wanted to.
Thank you.
Because sometimes they forget that part. And anytime you're having a hard time, like something's not showing up, kind of come back to this page too and make sure that the recipients didn't need to be pre-tagged roles for a template. Usually that's where the mistake happens, or like where you missed something. And you're welcome to reach out to me if you have questions or if you need anything. Sometimes it's just kind of like you play around with it until 1 minute it works and 1 minute it doesn't. Waiting for others means that it was sent. If you want to see who you're waiting on, you can click on that. And let's say, hey, these guys haven't sent it yet. Let's resend it. It's taken forever. So then we'll resend it again. A lot of times they'll miss it just because it does come from DocuSign. So sometimes they'll think that they had signed it when they really haven't. and sometimes it'll go to spam. So you'll want to check that too. Click out here, and then you can see what you sent, who you sent it to, what you sent. It shows you your history. And then this is your dashboard where you can just basically see everything that's kind of active, what you're waiting on. So that's like the basic part. One of the things that I will show you too is that you can import from your opportunity the document. Let's say, for example, okay, we want to add the file. Well, where do you want to add it from? I send it through DocuSign, so it'd be really best if I could go to DocuSign and import. And these are all the documents that were in DocuSign, right? So here's where you can see it will come back as signed once they sign it. And you can just say, oh, and then assign. Super easy. Instead of downloading and re-uploading. Did that make sense? Go to DocuSign. It takes you straight to the room that you've already linked to. And then you can, I forget, oh, what was I looking for? Oh, affiliated marketing. Okay, so then I can come down here and look. Oh, there it is. And then assign it. And then it puts it in there. And then you submit.
I have a question.
Sure.
Is this meeting recorded? So maybe later we can come back to reference if we have any questions.
Yes, it has been in the past, but I'm happy to answer any questions. If you need help, you can call me. My cell is 404-316-2209. 404-316-2209.
Got it. Thank you.
Sure.
Hi, Kim. I had a few questions as well.
Sure, John.
So let's say we start in DocuSign and somehow we end up in Remine and we get some signatures. Is it as simple as just downloading those
Yes.
disclosures and contracts from Remine and then uploading it to DocuSign?
It is.
Okay.
It is. And I would just go straight to, drag and drop the document to the document tab, right? Like that's the easiest way. And then you can kind of just drag and drop it in here and then take it to the envelope to do your edits.
Okay. And then, so once we go binding, we would never like move documents out of DocuSign, just go into command and do what you showed us as far as attaching the respective documents for the
Yeah, I would look
opportunity.
at DocuSign as where you work on your documents. Like think
Okay.
of DocuSign as just the place that I work on it. And then whatever I put into command is the cleaned, executed information.
Okay. And then one last question. On a BBA, will we have to have both signatures from both buyers, or will one
Yes.
suffice? No.
No, if both buyers are going to be on the purchase and sale, then you need both buyers' signatures on the BBA, which
Got
is
it.
not called BBA anymore, but that's what we all know.
Okay. All righty. Thank you.
Yeah, so let me see if I have so here's the buyer brokerage agreement that I have that's like our little PDF. And this is just kind of the standard percentage, 90 days, like you fill in these things that you don't want to forget. This is kind of like, you could even print this off and take it for your buyer's consult if you wanted to. And then of course, if they do a hard wet signature, they can cross out things, but this is where you've included the little buyer information that you want to send to them. And this is where you can pre-fill all this information out. And then this is also where you'd come back and edit, like after they've signed it, then you'll come by, unless it was done in person. If they do it electronically, after both buyers have signed up here, you're going to want to download this, and then you're going to need to put your the date that it was binding.
Kim, this is Allison Gale. I have a question. Under a room, under documents, is there any way that we can change the order of the documents as they appear on our page so that we can put the that are most prevalent or that need to be used first? I'm having a hard time accomplishing.
I know. And let me tell you, it just gets to be a super mess. So you can do A to Z, Z to A. You can put in the oldest, you can put in the newest. But then let's say you have a buyer and you've like put in like 5 offers on things and you've got so many things kind of coming and going. You can actually select it and then archive it. And that gets it off the main document page. But if you're looking for it and you want to find it again, you can go back and find it.
But if I want to, like, first documents first, like the affiliated marketing agreement, the lead-based pay, the, you know, some of the basics that I would send out first, if I want to have those first in my list, how can I do that?
So you could see this has a little folder over here. So this is all 10 documents in this room doc. If you wanted to, see, I just minimized it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to, you could actually maybe create another folder in this so that you could, you have all documents archived. The only way to answer that, I'm thinking, is if you put like a 1 or a 2 or something like that, that would go with this type of,
Okay.
yeah.
Just won't let you click and drag and change their location.
You could do it list. I don't think it will. I'll have to play with that. That's a really good question because I like the idea of being able to kind of, let me work on that and see, because I totally agree with you, right? It'd be great to have affiliated, wire fraud, and BBA all at the top, right? Like you just do click, 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 and you send it to them. You might be able to create another, within your room, another folder, if that makes sense. This is your room doc folder. So let me see about creating another folder in the room, and like you could create it and call it, you know, your BBA folder or your A folder, and then you could put it in order that way. Because right now the only way that I know to organize is alphabetical or oldest to newest.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. I like that question though. Any other questions?
Kim, can you please go through where you started with the opportunity and the command?
Sure.
And how does that go to DocuSign, please? Thanks.
Sure. Okay, so when you first come in to command, you're gonna add in your contact information to the contact part. So that's the very first part. So you've added your new contact, you've added your information for your new contact, and then they've decided that they're going to list their property. So you're going to click on opportunities. And then when you're in opportunities, you are going to create an opportunity. And the Market Center looks at the opportunities. They want it by the address name. When they look it up on their end, they want to have the address first and then the buyer or seller. And so what I've started doing is just putting the address in, the name of the client, and then saying whether it's a listing or a buying. So you'll create the opportunity. And when you create it, the Market Center is going to tell you what it is. Then you need to decide whether it's a listing buyer, which is important because you can't change that later. So just FYI, make sure that's correct, that you're the owner. Here's where you've got your client. And if there is a spouse or significant other, you would add the co-seller in here. This is where you're going to edit. This is where I just come in and I put the street address in here. And then you can put in your commission rate because the red means you have to fill it in. So put in your commission rate. And then this can be adjusted later. So let's say you just had an appointment with them, but now they're ready to go and you want to send them the paperwork. So we usually do active coming soon, and then you create. And then once you've created it, it's going to look like this. So here it's going to have your creation. You'll have your address, you'll have the name of your client. And if there's another buyer seller, it'll show up here too. Then you work from left to right as far as this goes, details. You'll want to make sure your information's correct. Then you're going to go to the documents because we've got to send them all this great paperwork. We want to start with them. So when you haven't created a transaction, it's going to say create transaction. But because we already have one created, it says go to transaction. So this is going to take you directly to the room that you need to work from. And this was the room that we were in DocuSign. So when you haven't created in command yet, it will say create transaction. And if it's already identified with one, it will say go to transaction.
Perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Anything else?
So as we're submitting, I guess, signed documents in command, we can just do them as we receive them, right? Like, it's not like we need to try to collect as much as we
Correct.
have. Okay.
Correct. Yeah. And you know, I would actually do that, like, as you get things, because it will help you when you get really, really busy.
Right.
That, for example, if you come to like a transaction and you're you go to your documents, you can tell that you've already submitted it. And let's say, for example, you don't have your pre-qual letter, right? But you've already submitted this stuff that has already gone to them. It actually goes and tags Sherry so that Sherry will, like, if you come back in and you're creating an offer, Sherry will be able to come back and say, hey, where's your pre-qual letter? So it will help you stay on top of all the information. And then this tells you whether you've submitted it or not.
Awesome. Thank you.
And it also tells you what is required and what's optional, just FYI. Green sheet, it says required, but I think everybody knows we're using offers and commissions now. All right. Well, you guys, if you have something that comes up and you need help with it, please let me know. And I know Kimberly is also very good at it at the office. Or if there's something that you would like to have as a template that you think would serve everybody, I know she's able to do that for all of us too, because she's done that. And everybody knows where to find those, correct?
Thank you. This is a lot of help.
All right. Anytime you guys need anything, let me know, and good luck with all your contracts.
Hey,
Thank
Kim, what's your email address?
Have a good
My
day.
email address is listed by Libby, Listed by B-Y, Libby, Libby, at gmail.com.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you so very much.
All right, guys. Have a good Monday.
You too.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
This was extremely helpful and needed today. So
I'm
thank
so
you
glad. I'm
much.
so glad.
Thank you.
Yes, no, it can make you crazy.
Yeah, I'm in my first land listing and
Yay.
got 2 offers, and I was just all over the place with this command, but you came right on time with this training.
Awesome. Yeah, no, the curve is a little steep at the beginning to learn it, but you will have it. Once you get come up with a little system, it will make your life so much easier.
I see that. I'll be much happier once I get all those templates set up. You're on speed dial. Thank you, Libby.
Awesome. I love it.
Okay, have a good day.
Thanks. You too. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, bye.